Prismacolor color pencils come in sets of 12, 24, 36, 72, 120, 132, and now a set of 150. We will be using a set of 36. If you take this class again, you'll get a set of 48 on up. You can get a pretty good price on Prismacolor pencils if you find that you really like working with colored pencils by going to Amazon. The reason I like Prismacolor pencils is because they have a soft, waxy feel to them, and you can get quite a lot of different textures and looks just by using Prismacolor pencils. Now, some people like to go for the real soft look like this, and other people like to go for a really dark, hard, burnished look like this, where they're really coloring it in. But the one thing that I've done here is I've only used one color, which is really limiting myself. Part of the beauty of colored pencils is how you can layer them to get more rich colors. So here I start with just a 917 sunburst yellow, and I color that in, and that's quite pretty. But if I add, and I color real lightly, and I add in another layer, let's say I decide to use 1002, and I lay that color in there, and then I come back and I add more of my yellow on top, and then maybe I come back and I add even more of another yellow on top. I can start to get this real rich looking color. Much more exciting for the viewer to look at than just one solid color. The other nice part about this is by being able to do this blending, because of the kind of pencils that they are, you can lay one color next to another and create a nice gradation depending upon how you choose to blend those two colors over each other. I have students that'll work real soft, and I have students that'll work harder and darker. But the most important thing when working with color, as when working with any medium, is value. It's important to note that you're not going to get value by the color you choose. Just because you choose a yellow doesn't mean that it's a light value. Although it could be, it is not necessarily a light value. And I continue to lay color in and to cover over. Now, the one thing that you'll notice if you're doing it the way that I'm doing it is that you'll end up with these horizontal stripes of double color. One way to avoid that is to color in a circular all over fashion like this and sort of fill in your space rather than going in straight lines. And then that tends to avoid that horizontal band of color where the colors overlap. I also constantly move back and forth between my colors, and I usually try to make sure that I have a nice variety going of at least 3, if not 4 or 5 colors when I'm going into each area. Our eyes love to see color, even though we can't really tell the difference just by looking at it with the naked eye. Our eyes still get real excited by it. If we only see one solid color, it's not as interesting, and our eyes will not look at us long enough. So value is important, and color does not equal value. Because you can have a light green, a light color value of green, and then here's another one that actually would go to this side, and even one more. Actually, that looks more blue, even though the case looks green and it says Deco Aqua. Well, aqua is more blue. And you would also go darker. Now you might find that you'll have a big giant jump in value just because Prismacolor doesn't have like small increments between value, except for when they get to their grays, which they have a nice range of grays to be able to use. So one of the ways to prevent that big jump in value, make a nice smooth transition, is to layer several colors over each other, and then that creates that transitional phase. As a matter of fact, I always layer my colors over each other, so I feel it just creates more of a cohesiveness to the work by going over it more. Come back with this, add in some more green. Keep on going down and getting darker and darker. Oh, that one's a little bit more blue than I want because it's a peacock green. So I'll go with this one. And that's not quite as green as I would like, but if I blend this over it, I get more of that green look that I want. Now, as it was with ink and also with pencil and also with scratch art, the way that you apply the color will affect the way the object that you're drawing looks. So on curved objects, used curved lines, and on straight-sided objects, use straight lines. Vary the weight of your line to change the quality of the visual effect of the color. Make sure you're blending colors to create a richer, more exciting color to look at. And you can blend darkly and go press heavily when you get to like the final coat, and that is called burnishing. Or you can use a real nice soft approach, and that is over there, and it doesn't really have a name. I just say soft approach. You'll find that as you start to burnish and you start to build up a layer of wax, because this is pigment mixed with wax, that the colors start to sit on top. And you'll oftentimes get little flakes that'll flake off. So you just need to ask for a brush. You could even use the brush that you have from your scratch art tools, and you can brush away the crumbs. The last thing you want to do is brush it off with your hand, because then you can smear those crumbs into your drawing, and it's very difficult to remove them. If you do want to remove some color, you can do that by getting an X-Acto knife and kind of scraping away at it. It's not perfect, but it does work. The other thing you can use is plain old tape, and that will lift up color as well. So you can see when I start to add this blue on here, I want to blend over it and blend into the green as well, so that you don't see a huge difference between where the two are blending together. If you can do that, it's going to make it look so much more convincing. when you put your object all together. It's really just two different schools of thought as to whether or not you press hard or you press light. It's kind of up to you. So you can have a lot of fun with this. Keep your lines going in the same direction. Have them follow the contours of the object. If you do scribbling and you go a bunch of different directions and ways, it's going to look sloppy and messy like you don't know what you're doing.